It's true. I mean, I think we've all heard the stories of how microfinance has helped millions of people, by providing them access to short-term microloans. But I think what we aren't seeing is really, seeing the fact that these individuals who've, received these microloans are actually moving out of poverty. And the work that we do is really focused on helping individuals who've been microborrowers now take that next step and help them bridge the gap between the informal sector and the formal financial sector. And I think the trend, or what we're really trying to do, is really provide a credit score, which is that kind of formal entry point into the financial ecosystem. So at the moment, the way that financial institutions are determining the creditworthiness of these microborrowers, it's really based on value judgment and kind of a personal belief that this person can repay a loan. Or it could be through receiving recommendations from their friends and family, so really getting people to vouch for them. But there really isn't any kind of formal credit score. There's no data behind the decisions that are being made. And that's really what we're trying to bring in. And in terms of micro business owners needing the capital, many of them have now started businesses. For instance, in India, where we work, there are 33 million micro borrowers. But most of them don't have access to that next step of expansion capital. So they're unable to grow their businesses, and most importantly, they're unable to be a source for job creation within their communities. So the idea for Inventure really came from my work both in investment banking as well as working at the UN. So when I was working at the UN, I had the opportunity to interview 750 micro borrowers. I got to really understand their quality of life, understand the decisions that they were making with the money that they had, and understand whether or not they were running their businesses effectively. And so what we do at Inventure is we work on financial inclusion broadly, but we do it in two ways. We provide financial access through our credit scores, but we also work on providing financial literacy and education through our Insight tool, so that individuals can actually manage their businesses in terms of doing daily accounting better, but they can actually manage their household budgets on a daily basis. It's definitely a daunting task to take on, doing credit scoring for the emerging market, but what we've done is really put our Insight tool works across all mobile phones, and it requires only a simple text message to use. So the cost is very minimal for the end user, or the micro borrower, or the individual. We don't charge them to use the product at all. And the data that we're collecting is something that we're collecting on a daily basis, so it's very painless, and it almost creates a habit of doing accounting. So we're really trying to integrate it into their daily life. And what we provide to the financial institutions is both the credit score, but also a demographic profile, so that they can actually see a holistic picture of who this borrower is. So it's definitely true that all the information is self-reported, but in addition to the self-reported information, Inventure is actually gathering demographic information. So things like utility data, rent data, school fees. We look at things like, how many kids does this individual have? How many years have they been employed? Do they have any health problems? And so what it's doing is, what we've done is pulled out 27 characteristics that really correlate with repayment ability. So that's one way. The second thing is that we actually do random audits once a month. So we actually go out into the field and verify, in terms of 5% of our sample size, whether the information is accurate. And then the last thing that we've done is really created trust networks where individual users are actually tied together to their friends and family, so that we can have basically an incentive of being honest and a way of actually auditing the group as a whole. So the way that I think it's more individual donors rather than investors or just individual supporters can really be involved both here in the US as well as in India. Our work is actually in the South Bronx, in South Oakland, as well as in South India. And we've developed something called the Opportunity Fund. And it's a way for individuals here to actually help guarantee loans for underserved individuals in emerging markets or developing communities. So many individuals may not even be able to access microloans. And so through Insight, we're trying to bring them into even the informal system. And so an individual here in the US can guarantee, let's say, $100 towards that loan, which can actually help that person gain access to financing. I think that, in Georgia, there are 722,000 small businesses. And traditionally, it's been the main source of employment for the state. And so I think just the work that we're doing in the US as well as in India, I think relates completely to Georgia, because I think it shows us that we really do need to pay attention to small businesses, support them, and actually continue lending and investing in them, because they are really a source for economic prosperity.